You know, there comes a point in life when you suddenly realize that something's changed. Not in your body, not even in your surroundings, but in the way people look at you, the way your family talks to you. Maybe they interrupt you when you speak. Maybe they stop asking for your advice like they used to. Or worse, they act like you're invisible, like your opinions don't carry the same weight they once did. It's a quiet kind of pain, isn't it? The kind that doesn't scream but slowly sinks into your chest and makes you wonder, when did respect stop being mutual? When did my family stop seeing me the way they used to? Respect begins within. The truth is, no matter how much we want others to value us, it all starts with the way we see ourselves. When your family stops showing you the respect you once had, it can shake something deep inside. You start wondering what changed, what you did wrong, or why your words no longer seem to matter. But respect is never something you can demand or chase. It's something that grows from your own sense of self-worth. If you don't believe that you deserve respect, if you start doubting your own voice, your own choices, and your own importance, that energy silently teaches others to treat you the same way. People mirror what you project, whether you realize it or not. When you carry yourself like someone who knows their value, people sense it. There's a calm power that comes with that kind of confidence. You stop needing to explain why you feel a certain way. You stop defending every decision, and you stop trying to win everyone's approval. The more you try to convince others of your worth, the more it slips away. But when you quietly own who you are, your experiences, your wisdom, your mistakes, and your growth, you create a presence that speaks for itself. Respect isn't about control or ego. It's about inner alignment. It's about knowing that you have nothing to prove to anyone, because your worth doesn't depend on how someone else sees you. It depends on how deeply you trust yourself. When you respect yourself, you speak differently. You hold eye contact. You walk with steadiness. You make decisions without seeking constant permission. And when you do that consistently, people begin to treat you differently, even if they can't explain why. It's not magic. It's energy. Think of it like this. When you apologize for everything, when you doubt your choices, when you allow others to interrupt or dismiss you, you slowly give away pieces of your power. But when you stay grounded, when you listen more and react less, when you choose your words carefully and hold your silence with purpose, you take that power back. Self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't argue. It doesn't chase approval. It's the quiet strength that says, I know who I am, and I don't need you to confirm it. This doesn't mean you ignore your family or stop caring. It simply means you stop measuring your value by their reactions. You stop trying to fit into the version of yourself they find convenient. You start living in alignment with your truth, no matter how others respond. Over time, they'll notice the change. They'll see the calm in your demeanor, the quiet confidence in your tone, and they'll feel that shift in your energy. That's when respect starts to return. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. It begins the moment you decide that you are enough exactly as you are, without explanation or approval, and that decision alone changes everything. Silent strength earns attention. There's something incredibly powerful about remaining calm when everyone expects you to react. When you've been disrespected or overlooked, the natural impulse is to raise your voice, to argue, to prove a point. But the truth is, the louder you try to demand respect, the less you actually receive it. Real strength doesn't need to shout. It's quiet, composed, and steady. When you respond with calm confidence instead of emotion, people start to pay attention in a different way. They can feel that something has changed, that you're not the same person they could easily dismiss or talk over. When you choose calm over chaos, you take back control of the situation. You're no longer reacting to their behavior. You're setting the tone. Silence backed by self-assurance makes people uncomfortable because they can't manipulate it. They expect frustration, but instead they see poise. They expect defensiveness, but instead they see composure. That quiet restraint commands a deeper kind of respect than any argument ever could. It says, without words, that you know your worth and you won't lower yourself to chaos. Silent strength also shows up in consistency. When you keep showing up for yourself, whether it's taking care of your health, sticking to your morning routine, maintaining your space, or continuing to improve yourself despite being underestimated, you send a message. You're saying, I respect myself even if you don't right now. And that message doesn't need to be spoken. It's visible in everything you do. People begin to notice the difference between someone who complains about being mistreated and someone who quietly transforms without explanation. There's a special kind of power in doing things quietly. When you stop arguing, stop trying to convince, and simply let your actions speak, your presence becomes more impactful. You can see this in the way people react when you start taking better care of yourself, when you speak less but mean more with every word, when you no longer allow negativity to disturb your peace. Over time, that steadiness earns admiration, even from those who once took you for granted. Because deep down, people respect consistency. They respect discipline. They respect those who remain composed when life tests them. Silent strength is not weakness. It's emotional maturity. It's the ability to understand that reacting emotionally only gives away your power, while patience and composure strengthen it. When you stay calm in the face of disrespect, you're not letting anyone walk over you. You're simply showing that their behavior doesn't define you. You're showing that your peace matters more than being right, and that's what truly gets noticed. The calm ones, the steady ones, the ones who don't argue but also don't bend to disrespect, they stand out. Their silence speaks volumes. People eventually start to wonder how they can't seem to shake you anymore, how you've become so centered, so unbothered, so in control. That's when the balance shifts. That's when quiet power earns the attention that loud confrontation never could. Boundaries redefine relationships. They are not walls meant to push people away, but gentle lines that protect your peace and remind others where respect begins. For many seniors, especially those who love deeply and have spent a lifetime putting others first, setting boundaries feels uncomfortable at first. You might fear being seen as distant, rude, or selfish. But the truth is, boundaries are an act of love. Love for yourself and love for the relationship. When you set limits on how others can treat you, you're not being difficult. You're teaching them how to value you properly. When family members begin to speak to you harshly, make jokes at your expense, or ignore your words, staying silent may seem easier. You tell yourself, they don't mean it, or it's not worth the argument. But every time you let it slide, you silently communicate that their behavior is acceptable. Over time, that becomes the new normal. The moment you start calmly refusing to participate in disrespect, everything begins to change. You can do it quietly, not by yelling or lecturing, but by standing firm. If someone raises their voice, you don't have to match their tone. If they dismiss your opinion, you don't have to force them to listen. Simply stop engaging with disrespect. End the conversation if you need to. Walk away if the energy feels wrong. Your silence in those moments will speak louder than any emotional outburst ever could. Boundaries also apply to emotional energy. You can't pour endlessly from a cup that's running empty. It's okay to say no when you're tired, to rest when you need it, to take time for yourself without guilt. When you begin honoring your own limits, you teach others to honor them too. You remind your family that your time and energy have value. Many people will test those boundaries at first because they're not used to them. But if you stay consistent, firm but kind, they'll start to adjust. They'll start to understand that you are not withdrawing from love. You're redefining how love should feel. Balanced, respectful, and mutual. Boundaries are also about communication. You don't have to deliver long speeches or justify your choices. A simple, calm sentence is enough. That doesn't work for me. Or, I don't appreciate being spoken to like that. It may feel strange at first, but over time, that calm firmness becomes your natural state. It shows your family that you expect to be treated with dignity and you no longer tolerate less. The beauty of boundaries is that they restore your inner peace. When you protect your emotional space, you stop reacting out of frustration and start responding from clarity. You no longer carry the weight of everyone's moods or opinions. Instead, you choose what energy enters your life. And when that happens, relationships start to shift in your favor. People who truly love you will begin to respect your limits, not resent them, because they'll realize that you're not trying to control anyone. You're simply honoring yourself. Purpose revives presence. There's something powerful that happens when you wake up each day with a reason to move, to think, to create, to give. As people grow older, the world often tries to convince them that their best years are behind them. that their role is to simply rest and observe while others lead the way. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Purpose doesn't expire. It evolves. It shifts from what you used to do for others to what you now choose to do for yourself. When you lose touch with purpose, you start to feel invisible, disconnected, like life is happening around you instead of through you. But the moment you reconnect with something meaningful, even something small, the spark inside you reignites. Purpose doesn't always mean a grand mission or a new career. It can be as simple as tending to a garden, writing in a journal, helping a neighbor, or mentoring a younger person who could benefit from your wisdom. It can mean learning something new just because it interests you or creating something that brings you joy. Every time you engage with purpose, you remind yourself and everyone around you that you're still here, still evolving, still contributing. That quiet determination draws respect naturally because people sense the energy of someone who's fulfilled. When you have purpose, your posture changes. You move differently. Your eyes have light again. Your tone carries calm confidence. You start to show up in ways that demand attention without saying a word. Family members who once overlooked you begin to notice that you're not as dependent as they thought, not as passive as they assumed. You have your own rhythm again. You're centered in something that gives you life beyond the walls of your home or the roles others have boxed you into. Purpose also gives structure to your days, and structure builds strength. When you fill your time intentionally, you stop waiting for others to include you or validate you. You stop feeling like your worth depends on what others think of you. Instead, your satisfaction comes from within, from the simple act of doing something that feels meaningful. That quiet independence commands respect, because people naturally admire those who don't rely on external validation to feel complete, and even more than that, purpose heals. It keeps your mind sharp, your spirit active, your heart open. It reminds you that no matter your age, you can still learn, still grow, still give. It shifts the energy in your home, because when you are lit from within, that light spreads to others. You begin to attract positivity without forcing it. That's the beauty of purpose. It's the quiet fire that keeps you alive, not just existing. And when you live with that spark again, your family begins to see you differently. Not out of pity, but out of genuine respect for the life still burning inside you. Peace is your ultimate power. There comes a point in life when you realize that holding on to anger, resentment, or disappointment only drains your strength. You might feel hurt by the way your family speaks to you, or frustrated that they no longer treat you with the same respect you once commanded. It's easy to carry those emotions quietly, replaying old conversations in your mind, wishing things had gone differently. But peace isn't found in trying to fix the past or change others. Peace begins the moment you decide that your happiness is no longer tied to anyone's behavior. It's the choice to stop letting disrespect disturb your spirit and start protecting your inner calm as if it were your greatest treasure. When you choose peace, you take your power back. You stop reacting impulsively to every careless word or thoughtless action. You stop arguing to be understood. Instead, you become grounded, unshakable, and centered. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop carrying what isn't yours. You learn to release the emotional weight that's been pressing on your heart for years. And when that happens, your entire energy shifts. You start to breathe differently, speak differently, and carry yourself with quiet assurance. People around you notice it, even if they can't explain why. Forgiveness is one of the hardest parts of finding peace, but it's also the most freeing. It doesn't mean you excuse anyone's behavior or pretend that disrespect never happened. It means you refuse to let that hurt define your mood, your day, or your sense of worth. It's saying, what you did was wrong, but I won't let it take away my peace. That kind of emotional maturity is rare, and it demands respect, because forgiveness isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing to heal instead of hate, to rise above instead of sink lower. When you start practicing peace, you also stop needing to prove your worth. You realize that no amount of arguing will make someone see what they refuse to see. So you conserve your energy. You protect your space. You let your peace do the talking. You become the calm in the room that no one can disturb. And in that stillness, there's power. The kind of power that commands quiet respect. Because people naturally look up to those who can stay centered when everything around them is chaotic. Peace also allows you to see things clearly. When you're no longer clouded by anger or disappointment, you can see people as they are, not through the lens of hurt, but through understanding. You recognize that disrespect often comes from ignorance or insecurity, not from your lack of worth. That realization makes you stronger because you stop taking things personally. You stop needing apologies to move forward. You simply keep your peace, and in doing so, you protect your dignity. And that's when respect begins to return. Not because you demanded it, but because your calm confidence leaves no room for anything less.